The name Porthmadog has only appeared on our maps relatively recently, thanks to William Maddox and his causeway, or cob, as we call it. Because before then, this would have been the main port for the area, Borth-y-Gaist. It would have been a hive of activity with ships being built along its shores, a constant flow of traffic from the sea, and some locals would make a living by guiding travellers safely across the perilous sands to Harlech. But what about the name? Well, Borth is simple enough. It means harbour or port in English. Gaist is interesting because it's an Old Welsh word that means belly. And some say it refers to the hill near the town, Moel-y-Gaist. Now, although I'm in a constant battle with this hill, it doesn't sound too convincing to me. There's another, more likely explanation. The gaist, or belly, or bol, as we call it in Welsh, is referring to a wet, marshy piece of land surrounding the hill. It's the same name as the bol in the village Rhos-y-Bol on Anglesey. So does Borth-y-Gaist mean the harbour near the big, greedy marsh? There's another place name in this area, not too far from Borth-y-Gaist, which takes its name from a specific piece of land or a rock. This is Bae Carreg Samson. You're more likely to hear Samson's Bay or even Samson's Cove these days, but there we are. What can we do? Well, I'll tell you what we can do. We can point to that rock up there and say, that is Carreg Samson. Some people have offered the explanation that Carreg Samson comes from Carreg Simsan, which means wobbly stone, and you can kind of see why, can't you? Because you wouldn't really want to shelter under that in a storm. But when you study our oral history, Carreg Samson appears to be the correct name. Samson was a biblical character renowned for his strength, but it's also a name that appears in Welsh folklore, sometimes as a literal giant with incredible strength, and sometimes, as in this case, a saint from the Middle Ages who it's said could move huge stones just with his little finger. It's said that Samson threw this stone to its present location, and that's a story that fits with a wider pattern of legends explaining how these huge stones are seen in some very unexpected places. There's another Carreg Samson on Mynydd Ystym near Aberdaron, which has exactly the same story, except that in that case, it's said, you can still see the finger marks of Samson. We now know that this rock was placed there by a glacier, but the name is a good example of how our ancestors tried to make sense of the world around them. And they created these stories to explain how these huge rocks appeared in places where they weren't meant to be. And thank goodness for their imagination, because I think we'd be much poorer without place names such as Bae Carreg Samson and Borth-y-Gaist.